The stars flickered once, twice, and then 200 warships appeared where nothing had been before. Commander Torvax stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Conquest, and looked at the blue planet floating in the darkness. His 4 eyes narrowed with satisfaction. This would be easy. The Valari Empire had conquered 17 star systems. They had crushed civilizations that built cities in the clouds and species that lived for 1,000 years. Earth, with its primitive radio signals and tiny rockets, would fall within hours. Torvax had brought more firepower than necessary, but he wanted to make an example. Other worlds were watching. "Begin the transmission," he ordered. His communications officer sent the message to every frequency the humans used. Torvax spoke slowly, as if talking to children. "People of Earth, I am Commander Torvax of the Valari Empire. You have 1 hour to surrender. Your leaders will present themselves to us. Your military forces will lay down their weapons. If you obey, some of you will be allowed to live as workers in our empire. If you resist, we will burn your cities to ash. Choose wisely." He ended the transmission and waited. On other worlds, the response had always been the same: fear, begging, quick surrender. The Valari were tall, strong, and their technology was centuries ahead of any species they had encountered. Torvax expected crying and pleading within. Minutes. 30 minutes passed. Nothing. 45 minutes. Silence. "Perhaps their communications are damaged," suggested his second officer. Torvax frowned. "Scan the planet again." The scan revealed something strange. The large cities were still there, but the life signs within them were dropping rapidly. Millions of humans were moving underground or into the mountains. They were not panicking. They were organizing. At exactly 1 hour, a single transmission came from Earth's moon. Torvax ordered it played on the main screen. A human female appeared. She wore a gray military uniform, and her face showed no fear at all. Her eyes were dark and steady. Behind her, other humans worked at control panels, calm and focused. "This is Captain Yuna of the Korean Space Defense Force," she said. "We received your message. Here is our answer." She paused and Torvax leaned forward. "Come and take it." Transmission ended. Torvax stared at the blank screen. In 300 years of conquest, no species had ever responded this way. He felt something unfamiliar. It took him a moment to recognize it as confusion. "She is bluffing," he said finally. "They have no fleet. Their weapons cannot even scratch our shields. Prepare the ground forces." On Earth's moon, Captain Yuna turned to her second-in-command. Lieutenant Doan was a quiet man with gray hair and a scar across his chin. He had fought in 3 wars and never raised his voice. "They're preparing dropships," he reported. "First wave will be 10,000 soldiers. They are targeting the Korean peninsula." Yuna nodded. "Good. Everything is ready?" "Evacuation of Seoul completed 2 weeks ago. The mountain units are in position." Dr. Murray confirmed the EMP systems are operational, and the people. Doan allowed himself a small smile. "Angry. Very angry. The aliens threatened to make us slaves. The recruitment offices cannot process volunteers fast enough." In the mountains of Korea, Sergeant Ji-woo checked her rifle for the 20th time. Her unit of 40 soldiers was hidden in caves that had been prepared for exactly this moment. For 50 years, since humanity first detected alien signals in deep space, the world had been quietly preparing. Underground bunkers. Secret weapons programs. Training for a war that many hoped would never come. Now it was here. "Sergeant," whispered Private Yoonji, the youngest member of the unit. She was only 22, small and thin, but her eyes were sharp. "Are you scared?" Jiwoo thought about the question. "No," she said honestly. "I am ready." "How can you not be scared?" "They have conquered 17 star systems. They have never met us." Jiwoo put a hand on Yoonji's shoulder. "Do you know why they always win? Because the species they attack give up. They see the big ships and the advanced weapons, and they lose hope. But we are human. We do not give up. It is not in our nature." In orbit, the Valari dropships launched. Each one carried 500 soldiers in gleaming armor, armed with energy rifles that could cut through steel. They descended through Earth's atmosphere like falling stars. Hundreds of bright streaks across the sky. Commander Torvax watched from his flagship. "Contact in 10 minutes," his officer reported. What the Valari did not know, what they could not know, was that humanity had been studying them for decades. When the first Valari probe had passed through the solar system 40 years ago, humans had captured it. They had taken it apart piece by piece. They had learned the dropships landed in Sol. The soldiers marched out in perfect formation, their weapons ready. The city was silent. Empty buildings. Empty streets. The wind blew through abandoned cars and knocked over trash cans. "Where are they?" asked a Valari squad leader. "Underground," most likely answered his commander. "They are hiding. Like all prey animals." He was wrong. High in the mountains, Sergeant Jiwoo received the signal. She pressed a button on her radio and spoke 2 words. "Begin operation." Across the country, thousands of hidden soldiers received the same message. In tunnels beneath Seoul, special forces teams prepared to surface. In the forests, snipers checked their positions. In the sea, submarines loaded missiles. And on the moon, Captain Yuna watched the tactical display. The aliens had landed exactly where they expected them to land. They had brought exactly the number of soldiers predicted. Everything was going according to plan. "They think we are prey," she said to Lieutenant Dewan. "Yes. They are about to learn a very hard lesson." Looked at the blue and green planet she had sworn to protect. Down there, her people were waiting, not with fear, not with surrender, but with weapons in their hands and fire in their hearts. The Valari wanted Earth. Now they would discover what that really meant. The first thing the Valari soldiers noticed was the weight. Their legs felt heavy. Their arms felt slow. Every step required more effort than it should. "What is wrong with this planet?" gasped a young soldier. "Gravity," answered a squad leader, checking a scanner. "It is stronger here. Almost 1.5 times our homeworld." This was not in the reports. The Valari were tall, thin creatures, evolved on a planet with gentle gravity. Here on Earth, they felt like they were carrying invisible weights. Some soldiers stumbled. Others breathed heavily just from standing. But they were professional soldiers. They adjusted their formation and began moving through the empty streets of Seoul. The silence was strange. On other conquered worlds, there had been screaming, running, chaos. Here, there was only the wind and the distant sound of something they could not identify. "Squad 7. Report," said the ground commander through his radio. "Static."
Squad 7.
Respond. Nothing. Then, from somewhere in the city, a sound. A sharp crack echoing off the buildings. A Valari soldier in the front line fell, a hole in his chest. "Contact?" screamed someone. More cracks. More soldiers falling. The Valari fired their energy rifles at the buildings, but they could not see their attackers. The humans were hidden in windows, on rooftops, in shadows. They fired and moved, never staying in one place. "Where are they coming from?" shouted the ground commander from everywhere it seemed. From nowhere, deep beneath the city, Sergeant Jiwoo led her unit through tunnels that had been built in secret over 20 years. They emerged behind the main Valari force, silent as ghosts. "Remember your training," she whispered. "Aim for the joints in their armor. That is where they are weakest." Private Yanji was shaking, but she steadied her rifle. She had never killed anything before. But when she looked at the alien soldiers marching through her city, her fear turned to something else. Something colder. She fired. Her first shot hit a Valari officer in the neck. He fell without a sound. Before his body touched the ground, Yonji had already moved to a new position and found a new target. High above. On the moon, Captain Yuna watched the battle through satellite feeds. Red dots marked Valari positions. Blue dots marked human forces. The red dots were surrounded. "Ground teams report the EMP devices are ready," said Lieutenant Dewan. "Activate them." Cross Seoul. Hidden devices sent out waves of electromagnetic energy. The Valari energy rifles flickered and died. Their armor systems failed. Their communication devices turned to static. In one moment, the most advanced army in 17 star systems was reduced to fighting with their hands. And that was when the real horror began. The humans came out of the shadows. They came from buildings and tunnels and sewers. They were smaller than the Volari, but faster. So much faster. And they did not stop. A Volari soldier shot a human in the chest with his backup weapon. The human stumbled, looked down at the wound, and kept coming. He tackled the alien and broke his neck before finally collapsing. Another Volari swung at a human female with his armored fist. She ducked under the blow, pulled out a knife, and cut the tendons behind his knee. As he fell, she was already attacking his companion. On his flagship, Commander Torvax watched the helmet cameras of his soldiers. What he saw made no sense. The humans were taking terrible casualties, but they did not retreat. They did not surrender. They seemed to fight harder when they were wounded. "What are they?" whispered his science officer. "Animals," said Torvax, but his voice was uncertain. "They are just animals." On the ground, the battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the first wave of 10,000 Volari soldiers had been completely destroyed. Not defeated, destroyed. Only 300 survivors were taken prisoner, and many of those were too injured to stand. Human losses were 4,000 dead and 2,000 wounded. The wounded were carried to hospitals. Many of them complained that they wanted to return to fighting. Sergeant Jiwoo sat against a wall, covered in dust and blood that was not all hers. Private Yunji sat beside her, staring at nothing. She had killed 11 aliens. She had almost died twice. She was 22 years old. "You did well," said Jiwoo. "I do not feel anything," said Yunji. "Should I feel something?" "Later, you will feel it later. For now, we rest. They will send more." In orbit, Commander Torvax was shouting at his officers. "How? How did this happen? They are primitives. They have no fleet, no shields, no advanced weapons." Commander said his science officer carefully, "I have been analyzing the battle data. The humans have several advantages. We did not expect what advantages. They are soft and weak. They are not soft. Their muscles are denser than ours. Their bones are stronger. And they heal faster than any species in our records." Some of the humans in the battle continued fighting with wounds that would kill a Volari in minutes. Torvax stared at him. "That is impossible. Have the data, Commander. Also, their planet." He hesitated. "Their planet is dangerous. The gravity, yes, but also the temperature extremes, the weather, the wildlife. They evolved in conditions that would be fatal to most species. They are built to survive. Then we will destroy them from orbit. The planetary bombardment will kill billions, Commander. The Empire wants slaves, not corpses." And he paused again. "And what?" "And I am not certain bombardment will kill them all. They have buried themselves deep underground. They are prepared. This was not desperation, Commander. This was a trap. They let us land exactly where they wanted us." For the first time in his long career, Commander Torvax felt something he had not felt since childhood. He felt afraid. But he was a Volari commander. He had conquered worlds. He would not be defeated by primitives. "Prepare the second wave," he ordered. "Double the soldiers. Triple the weapons. We will crush them with numbers." He did not notice that some of his officers exchanged worried looks. He did not see the fear in their eyes. They had seen the helmet cameras too. They had watched the humans fighting. And somewhere, deep in their minds, they were beginning to understand something terrible. The Volari had made a mistake. A very serious mistake. The second wave came with 20,000 soldiers. The third wave came with 30,000. Both waves failed. By the end of the first week, the Volari had lost over 50,000 troops on Korean soil alone. Similar disasters were happening across the planet, in a hidden military bunker beneath the mountains. Dr. Murray was interviewing a captured Volari officer. The alien sat in a metal chair, his 4 eyes darting around the room. He was shaking. "I will tell you nothing," he said, but his voice trembled. Dr. Murray smiled gently. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes. She did not look like a threat. I just want to understand you, she said. We are scientists. We study things. Tell me about your homeworld. The officer relaxed slightly. This seems safe. Valara Prime. A beautiful world. Gentle weather, no storms. 3 moons in the sky? Sounds peaceful. What do you eat there? Plants, fruits, grains, no meat. The officer made a disgusted face. We are not savages. We do not eat dead animals. Dr. Murray nodded. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a wrapped package. She opened it slowly. Inside was a sandwich. Beef. She took a bite and chewed while the Valari watched. What is that? He asked. A sandwich. The meat is from a cow. A large animal we raise for food. The officer stared at her mouth as she chewed. His face changed color. You eat flesh? Dead flesh? Yes. We are omnivores. We eat plants and animals. She took another bite. This is quite good, actually. Would you like to try? The officer screamed. It was a high, thin sound, like a terrified child. He fell from his chair and pushed himself into the corner, as far from Dr. Murray as possible. Monster, he whispered. You are monsters. Flesh-eaters. Death-eaters. Dr. Murray finished her sandwich calmly. Interesting, she said, and made a note in her book. This was just one of many discoveries. The humans were learning everything they could about their enemy. And what they learned explained a great deal. The Valari were not warriors. They were administrators. They had conquered their 17 star systems not through combat, but through overwhelming technology. Most species they encountered surrendered immediately. The few that fought back were destroyed from orbit. The Valari had never faced a ground war against a species that refused to give up, and they had never faced a species like humans. On the 4th day of the invasion, Lieutenant Dewan led a special mission. Using captured Valari transport ships, his team of 50 soldiers flew up to one of the orbiting cruisers. They forced their way through an airlock and entered the ship. The Valari crew was not prepared for close combat. They were technicians and officers who had never held a weapon in battle. They tried to fight. But the humans moved through the ship like a storm. Dewan found himself facing a Valari twice his height. The alien swung at him with a metal rod. Dewan ducked, stepped inside the alien's reach, and drove his combat knife up through the soft tissue under the alien's chin. The Valari died with a look of complete surprise. The ship was captured in 2 hours. Dewan sent a message to Captain Yuna on the moon. 1 cruiser secured, sending all data from their computers. The data was revealing. The Valari Science Corps had been analyzing humans since the invasion began. Their reports grew more frightened with each passing day. One report read, humans are pursuit predators. Their ancestors hunted by chasing prey until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. They can maintain physical activity for hours or days with minimal rest. They do not stop. Another report stated, human soldiers have been observed fighting for 36 hours without sleep. When finally forced to rest, they recovered full function in only 4 hours. This is not natural. Third report, marked as urgent, detailed the human healing ability. A human soldier was shot through the stomach. He killed 3 Valari soldiers before finally falling. When our medics examined him, they found his body was already attempting to repair the damage. They heal like nothing we have ever seen. The most disturbing report was about Earth itself. This planet is a death world, the report began. The temperature ranges from extreme cold to extreme heat. The weather includes violent storms, floods, earthquakes, and volcanic eruptions. The wildlife includes venomous creatures, large predators, and microscopic organisms that cause diseases. The plants include species that are toxic, carnivorous, or covered in spines. Evolution on this planet favored aggression, adaptability, and persistence. The dominant species, humans, survived by being more dangerous than their environment. They are apex predators who conquered their entire world, and their recorded history is an endless series of wars. They fight each other constantly. They are always prepared for battle. They are always ready to die. The report's conclusion was simple. We recommend immediate withdrawal. This planet cannot be conquered. The cost is too high. Commander Torvax ignored the recommendation. On the 7th day, Private Yunji was stationed at a mountain pass with only 20 soldiers. A Valari force of 500 was advancing toward them. Her commander was dead. Her radio was broken. Reinforcements were hours away. "Cannot hold them," said one of her fellow soldiers. "There are too many." Young-ji looked at the approaching aliens, then at the narrow pass. "Yes, we can," she said. "They can only come at us a few at a time, and they have to climb uphill. In this gravity, they will be exhausted before they reach us. They will still overwhelm us eventually. Then we will make it expensive." She checked her ammunition. "I am not leaving. You can go if you want." Nobody left. For 9 hours, Yoongi and her 20 soldiers held that pass. When the Valari tried to climb the rocks, the humans shot them. When they tried to rush the position, the humans threw grenades. When they got close, the humans fought with knives and fists and rocks and teeth. Yunji was shot twice. She bandaged herself and kept fighting. She was cut across the face. She wiped the blood from her eyes and kept fighting. She ran out of ammunition. She took a rifle from a dead alien and kept fighting. When reinforcements finally arrived, they found her standing alone among the bodies of her enemies. Her 20 soldiers were all dead or wounded. But the pass was held, and in front of it lay the bodies of 216 Valari. Yunji looked at the rescue team. Blood covered her face. Her uniform was torn. She could barely stand. "Do you have any water?" she asked. "I am very thirsty." Medic rushed to help her. "How are you still alive?" He whispered. Eung considered the question. "I do not know," she said honestly. "I just did not stop." Across the known galaxy, the Valari were beginning to share stories. Stories of a death world where the prey became the predator. Stories of soldiers who would not die, who smiled as they fought, who kept coming no matter what. In their barracks, Valari soldiers began refusing orders. Some pretended to be sick. Others simply did not show up for deployment. "I will not go down there," said one soldier to his commander. "I would rather face execution." His commander, who had seen the battle recordings, did not punish him, because secretly he felt the same way. 2 weeks into the invasion, Commander Torvax was losing control. His soldiers were dying by the thousands. His officers were questioning his orders. Worst of all, the humans were not weakening. They seemed to be getting stronger every day. More human soldiers appeared. They came from everywhere. Old men and young women. Factory workers and teachers. Farmers with hunting rifles and scientists with experimental weapons. The entire planet was fighting back, and they were fighting with a fury that the Valari could not understand. In his command room, Torvax stared at the tactical display. Red zones marked Velarcontrolled territory. 2 weeks ago, those red zones covered half of Korea. Now they covered almost nothing. Commander said his first officer carefully. "The troops are refusing to deploy." "Refusing? They are afraid, Commander. The recordings from the ground, they have seen things, heard things. One of our soldiers was captured and returned to us. He has not spoken since, just sits and stares at nothing. When anyone approaches him, he screams. 'Cowards,' Torvax growled. 'Execute the ones who refuse orders. That will motivate the others.' His first officer hesitated. 'Commander, if we execute everyone who is afraid to fight, we will not have enough soldiers left to maintain the ships.' Torvax slammed his fist on the table. 'Then what do you suggest?' 'Retreat. Return to Valari space. Kt. Report to the Empire that this planet is too costly to conquer.' 'I will not retreat from primitives. Commander, with respect, they are not primitives. They are something else. Something we have never encountered. Something we are not prepared for.' On the planet below, Hyun-woo was preparing for his final mission. Hyun-woo was not a soldier. 3 weeks ago, he had been a mechanic who fixed cars in a small town. Then, the aliens came. They destroyed his town. They killed his wife, his daughter, his parents. everyone he loved. He had walked for 2 days to reach the nearest military base. He had volunteered for anything they would give him. They'd trained him for 1 week and sent him into combat. He had survived 12 battles. He'd killed more aliens than he could count, but it was not enough. "I want to hurt them," he told Captain Yuna when she visited the base. "I want to hurt them so badly that they never come back. I want them to remember us forever." Yuna looked at this man who had lost everything. She saw the emptiness in his eyes, the cold rage that had replaced whatever he used to feel. "There is a mission," she said. "A one-way mission. We need someone to deliver a message to their commander. Someone who is not afraid to die. I stopped being afraid the day I buried my daughter." The plan was simple. The captured Valari shuttle would approach the flagship under a false surrender signal. Yunhua would be inside wearing a captured uniform. Hidden in his clothing would be a bomb. It's not a large bomb, but enough to destroy the command bridge. Dr. Murray gave him the explosive. It was flat and thin, designed to be undetectable. "The trigger is a thought," she explained. "We implanted a sensor in your skull. When you think a specific phrase, the bomb detonates." "What phrase?" "Whatever you want. Something you would only think at the final moment." Hyunwoo nodded. He knew what the phrase would be. His daughter's name. The shuttle launched the next day. As expected, the Valari surrounded it with weapons. They forced it to dock and dragged Hyunwoo out at gunpoint. "A prisoner," said one of the guards. He surrendered. "Bring him to the commander. Perhaps he has useful information." They dragged Hyunwoo through the ship. He looked around calmly, memorizing every detail. The Valari were tall and thin. They moved slowly, heavily, as if tired. Their eyes were dull. They looked like creatures who had already lost. Commander Torvax was sitting in his command chair when Hyunwoo was brought before him. The commander looked at the small human with contempt. "So," Torvax said, "you surrender. Finally, one of your kind shows sense." Hyunwoo smiled. It was not a nice smile. "I did not come to surrender." "Then why are you here?" "To deliver a message." Torvax leaned forward. "What message?" Hyunwoo looked around the command bridge. A dozen officers, the navigation controls, the weapon systems, the communications array. This was the brain of the invasion. Without it, the fleet would be chaos. "You made a mistake," Hyunwoo said. "You came to our world. You attacked our homes. You killed our families." He paused. "Did you think we would forget? Did you think we would forgive?" Torvax laughed. "You are one small creature. What can you possibly do?" "I can die." Hyunwoo's smile widened. "And I can take you with me." Too late, Torvax understood. He opened his mouth to call for guards, but Hyunwoo was already thinking the word. His daughter's name, Minji. The explosion destroyed the command bridge. Torvax was thrown across the room, his body broken but somehow still alive. Alarms screamed throughout the ship. Fires erupted. Officers ran in panic. On the moon, Captain Yuna received the signal that Hyunwoo's mission was complete. She closed her eyes for a moment, honoring his sacrifice. Then she turned to Lieutenant Doan. "Begin Operation Sunrise." Across the planet, human forces launched their counterattack. They'd been building strength for this moment. Now they struck everywhere at once. In Korea, Sergeant Ji Woo led her unit against the last Valari base. In Europe, human soldiers stormed alien positions. In Asia, Africa, Australia, the Americas, everywhere, the humans advanced. And in space, the captured Valari cruiser joined with the lunar defense fleet. They attacked the remaining Valari ships, which were now in chaos without their commander. The aliens tried to fight back, but their hearts were not in it. "This is useless," said a Valari captain. "We cannot win. We never could. What do? We run." The first Valari ship turned and fled toward open space. Then another, and 10 more. Then 50 on the ground. The alien soldiers saw their fleet running away. They saw the humans coming. Endless waves of humans with fire in their eyes. And something broke inside them. They dropped their weapons. They threw off their armor. They ran toward any shuttle, any transport, anything that could take them off this cursed planet. They pushed each other. They trampled each other. Some did not even try to reach the ships. They simply ran, blind with terror, not knowing where they were going, but knowing they had to get away. A Valari soldier was later asked what he remembered from that day. He spoke in a whisper. They would not stop. We shot them, and they would not stop. We killed them, and more came. And they were smiling. Some of them were smiling while they killed us. I saw a human laugh as he died. He was bleeding from everywhere, and he was laughing. He paused, his eyes empty. We thought we were conquering a planet. We were wrong. We were just waking up a monster. The retreat was not organized. It was not controlled. It was pure animal panic. Layer I soldiers ran toward extraction points, throwing away their weapons and equipment. Some trampled their own companions in their desperation to escape. Shuttle pilots took off before their ships were full, leaving screaming soldiers behind. The screaming soldiers were captured by humans who appeared from everywhere, moving fast. Always moving. Of the 200 warships that had arrived with such confidence, only 23 managed to escape into hyperspace. The rest were destroyed, captured, or abandoned. Over 150,000 Valari soldiers died on Earth. Another 60,000 were taken prisoner. Commander Torvax survived the explosion that killed Hyunwoo. He was found in the wreckage of his command bridge, broken and burned but breathing. Human soldiers pulled him from the debris and brought him to a medical facility. They treated his wounds. They fed him. They did not torture him. This confused him more than anything. Why? He asked Sergeant Ji Woo, who was guarding him. Why do you not hurt me? I ordered the deaths of thousands of your people. Ji Woo looked at him calmly. Because we are not you. We do not need to hurt prisoners. You are already defeated. What more is there? Torvax had no answer. On the moon, Captain Yuna watched the last Valari ships flee. Lieutenant Do-won stood beside her, his face showing no emotion. It is over, she said quietly. Is it? She shook her head. No, this was just the beginning. They will tell others about us now. The galaxy will know about Earth. Some will be afraid. Others will be curious. Some might even try again. Then we prepare. Yes, we prepare. In a hospital in Korea, Private Yoonji was recovering from her wounds. She had been shot 7 times during the final battle. The doctors said she should have died. Instead, she was sitting up in bed, eating rice and complaining that she was bored. You are a hero, said a young nurse. The girl who held the mountain pass? Everyone knows your name. Yongi shrugged. I just did not run. Anyone could do that. No, said the nurse. Not anyone. Just humans. Dr. Murray spent weeks studying the captured Valar. She interviewed hundreds of prisoners, analyzed their biology, and read every report from their computers. Her final report was presented to the world's leaders. We have learned several important things, she explained. First, the Valari are not unique. There are many species in this galaxy. Some are peaceful, some are not. We must be ready for all of them. Second, most species see us as monsters. Our biology is extreme. Our history is violent. Our planet is dangerous. They call Earth a death world, and they are correct. We survived and conquered our world because we are more dangerous than anything on it. Third, and most important, we have an advantage. Every species they have conquered gave up. They saw advanced technology and they surrendered. We did not. We fought. We bled. We died. But we did not stop. This confused them. It terrified them. They have no answer for an enemy that simply refuses to lose. She paused. They will tell stories about us now. They will spread warnings through the galaxy. Some will leave us alone out of fear. Others might try to destroy us before we grow stronger. We must be ready for both. The surviving Valari ships reached their empire's border 3 months later. They were met by a patrol fleet that demanded an explanation. Why were there only 23 ships? Where was the conquest fleet? What happened? The captain of the lead survivor ship, a broken creature who had not slept properly since fleeing Earth, transmitted his response to every Valari outpost, every military base, every colony in their 17 systems. Quarantine the Sol system. Do not approach. Do not contact. Do not provoke. The third planet is a death world. The species there cannot be conquered. They cannot be controlled. They cannot be reasoned with. They are apex predators who have fought each other for their entire history, and they are finally united against a common enemy. He paused. The humans are awake now, and they are coming. On Earth, the world was rebuilding. The invasion had caused massive destruction, but humanity had done what it always did. It survived. It adapted. It grew stronger. Captain Yuna, now Admiral Yuna, stood before the United Nations. The leaders of every nation were gathered, united for the first time in history. Behind her, on a massive screen, was an image of Earth from space. Blue and green and beautiful. 3 months ago, an alien empire tried to conquer our world, she said. They failed. They failed because they did not understand us. They thought we were weak because we are soft and small. They thought we would surrender because other species surrendered. They were wrong. She looked at the gathered leaders. We have learned that we are not alone in this universe. We have learned that there are dangers beyond our world. And we have learned something about ourselves. When we are threatened, we do not break. We do not bend. We fight. The Valari Empire is only one power in this galaxy. There are others. Some might be friendly. Some might be hostile. Some might be watching us right now, trying to decide what to do about the strange species that defeated an empire. I say let them watch. Let them see what we are. Let them understand that this planet is not easy prey. And if they are foolish enough to attack us, let them learn the same lesson the Valari learned. She raised her voice, and it carried across the entire chamber. We did not start this war. We did not ask for it. We did not want it. But we ended it. And if anyone else wants to test us, we will end that war too. The room erupted in applause. 10 years later, the first human starship left the solar system. It was called the Hyunwoo, named for a mechanic who had lost everything and gave everything he had left. Its mission was exploration. Its crew was made of soldiers and scientists, diplomats and doctors. In the galaxy beyond, species whispered about the death world and its terrible inhabitants. Parents told their children stories about the humans. Some stories were warnings. Some were nightmares. All of them ended the same way. Do not anger a human. Do not threaten what they love. Do not assume they will surrender. Because humans do not give up. They do not stop. They do not break. They just keep coming. And somewhere on Earth, an old woman named Yunji sat on her porch and watched the stars. She was in her 70s now, retired from the military, her body scarred from a dozen battles. Children in her village called her grandmother Mountain because of the story of the mountain pass. What was it like? A young boy asked her. The invasion? Yunji thought for a long moment. It was terrible, she said finally. Many people died. Many good people. Were you scared? Yes, everyone was scared. But we did not run. She smiled at the boy. That is what makes us human. We get scared. We get hurt. We lose people we love. But we do not run. We stand up. We keep fighting. We protect each other. She looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, they are telling stories about us. They call us monsters. They call us terrifying. But do you know what I call us? The boy shook his head. I call us survivors. And that is enough. Above them, the stars glittered cold and bright. And in the darkness between them, the universe waited to see what humanity would do next.